The most enduring family fractures rarely begin with a massive betrayal. They start with something as small as a pen. A teenager reaches out to show their parent a notebook, senses the tension, and immediately recoils, seeking a brief moment of shared emotional validation. The parent doesn't look up, instead delivering a flat, functional answer meant to end the interaction as quickly as possible. Affection remains present, but it is filtered through two distinct systems that simply do not share a common language for what is happening in this moment. This mundane interaction represents a real-time failure of systems integration between two mutually unintelligible neurobiological survival architectures. To understand the breakdown, we need to step back from the emotional friction and isolate the cognitive states of the two individuals involved. We begin with the parent node, operating on a legacy survival-based model, typical of Gen X or immigrant parents. Opposite this is the teen node, operating on a modern Gen Z emotional attunement model. Their frequencies differ sharply. One operates on a rigid, predictable wave, while the other is fluid and responsive. We have to ask why an interaction rooted in mutual care results in severe neurobiological distress for both the parent and the child. The parent's nervous system was forged in uncurated solitude. This group learned to map safety exclusively to self-reliance. Because constant supervision was absent, the prefrontal cortex was forced into early overdrive to manage self-regulation and solve problems in a vacuum. In evolutionary behavioral ecology, this is called life history theory, the study of how organisms adapt their development to the predictability of their environment. Early life scarcity and historical unpredictability defined this generation's baseline. These harsh ecologies permanently lock the developing brain into the foundational tiers of physiological safety. The brain wires itself to measure safety through functional provision and logistical stability. For a nervous system wired for survival, higher-tier emotional buffering appears to be a luxury rather than a necessity. In this model, taking care of the logistical how is the exact mechanism by which a parent provides love. This historical wiring meets the parent's immediate cognitive realities standing in that store aisle. They are struggling under the invisible load, the unceasing cognitive labor required to keep a household functioning. Their working memory is saturated with administrative tasks, tracking insurance payments, school schedules, and financial costs for the next 6 months. The smartphone acts as the command center for this load. It is the primary tool preventing the family's logistical needs from drifting into chaos. Attempting to shut down a conversation quickly is a neurological strategy to keep the system online and prevent a total cognitive crash. From their perspective, prioritizing the macro stability of the family over a minor emotional exchange is the most responsible path forward. The teenager operates from a different neurobiological baseline, defined by emotional attunement. This attachment system requires undivided attention and co-regulation to map the world as a safe place. In the stationery store, the teen experiences technoference, where a digital device physically severs a moment of human connection. Because the adolescent brain relies on eye contact for safety, a sudden focus on a screen registers as a break in the attachment bond. This severed connection starves the nervous system of the feedback it needs to stay regulated. This trigger leads to rejection-sensitive dysphoria, an intense emotional pain caused by perceived distance. Reduced top-down modulation from prefrontal networks limits the brain's ability to dampen this emotional response once it is triggered. The teen's brain interprets a neutral distraction as an active threat of abandonment, forcing it into a state of anxious expectation. Their nervous system is accurately reporting the sudden, terrifying withdrawal of its primary safety net. Place both of these internal worlds back into the stationery store. The parent is attempting to save the family through efficiency, while the teen is attempting to save the relationship through presence. Neither person has failed the other. Their operating models simply cannot connect. Friction is inevitable because these systems lack a shared translation mechanism. Both sides act out of a drive for connection, even while their chosen tools cause harm. The legacy survival model builds the grit and functional autonomy required to navigate a difficult world. The attunement model develops the intimacy and emotional intelligence required to sustain deep relationships. The ultimate challenge for modern families is building a translation layer between these two internal architectures. This requires converting the language of logistical provision into the language of emotional presence, and vice versa. By identifying the invisible neurobiological architecture of the other generation, we can stop fighting the individual and start fixing the system.